Hi, I'm Cameron, and I'm going to be showing you how I've been using the Ghost plugin to actually build the plugin itself. This time for the task, basically our extension is using the OpenAI API, and I'd like to keep track of the number of tokens that's being used, and I want to save that to our Firebase database as like a stat basically. So the task that I'm going to put in is when the app makes a request to the OpenAI API, it should add an atomic write to the Firebase, Firebase database in a stats collection to update a value that stores the number of tokens used for the request. Okay, see what happens. And so there's a few things I'm specifying here. One is that I'm using the OpenAI API. I know that, and I also know that that returns the number of tokens that was used for the request. I don't know exactly how. I'm not specifying that here. That's one thing I don't know specifically. The other thing is I'm saving with an atomic write to the Firebase database because I want to make sure that if things change, if multiple clients are writing to the same thing somehow, that the value is still correct. So I'm specifying that. I'm also specifying that I want it to be in the stats collection. Okay, so let's see, it came back with these files, which is right. There's this Firebase file where we can add a new function, increment tokens used. Get a reference to the stats collection, use a run transaction to atomically increment. Okay, let's hit view diff, see how that goes. That looks right. And then the second one here looks like it's just importing that after receiving the response, calculate the number of tokens used, and then call that method, which seems right to me. So we'll see what comes back for this first diff. Okay. Firestore, stats tokens used. This seems to make sense. Let's save that. Okay. Let's try the next one. Let's take a look at this file though. So yeah, there's the stats ref. It's run in transaction. It first gets the snapshot, reads the current tokens used, and oh, interesting. It's not even using this, but it is incrementing tokens used by tokens used on the stats ref. I wonder if I don't need that. I think that makes sense to me. So it wasn't quite right, I guess, but I think it got me there. The other thing that I'm not 100% sure about is the update will fail if applied to a document that does not exist. Okay, so I think in this case I actually just want set. Yes. So again, I think the reason it did that was because I was in my request I said it should update a value, and one of the things I've been finding is it's very specific about those sorts of things. So it was like, okay, I need to update it. So it uses the update method. Maybe I could have changed the way I worded the prompt to make it I could have said to set a value. Maybe that would have fixed it actually. Okay, but otherwise, I think that makes sense. Okay, and here's the next if. Yep, importing it and using it. And let's save that. Yep. Sometimes it like reformats and gets a little weird. Okay, there we go. That was good. Okay, just a bug that I have to fix. Let's see. Looks like there isn't some. It's not quite right. Usage doesn't exist on that type. I think. Yeah, looks like it's just that. So save that. Let's reload the app. See what happens. So I'll just get it to do something. Maybe regenerate this diff. Just to get it to do something so that we can see if it stores the tokens that were used. And so, yeah, as you can see, it kind of depends a bit on how I specify the prompt. And also, it's good at like getting me most of the way there. Like I know like basically what I want, but I don't know the specifics. So I'm not sure necessarily which files I need to go into or where in those files I need to make changes. It can figure that stuff out for me, but then there's like maybe just a little bit here and there, like once it's set, that I can change to do what I need it to do. Yeah, so it regenerated the diff. Obviously, there isn't a diff because it's already doing the thing that I asked for it to do. Let's see if it'll come back. Yep. Here's the stats. Let me pull it down here. And yeah, you can see the number of tokens used. Cool.